I've tried out a lot of outdated movie references on the podcast over the last couple weeks. I'm going to start with one tonight. There were so many different moments over the second half of this game, whether it comes to the game itself or Marvin Harrison Jr., that were very Dumb and Dumber on the highway of just when I thought this couldn't be any dumber, you go and totally redeem yourself. And that, David, was our week 4 game on Thursday night between the Arizona Cardinals and the Seattle Seahawks.
They totally redeemed us with a fun finish to what I thought was just one of the biggest duds of the early going of this season. So I guess I'll call that a win. Like what this looked like 2/3 of the way through, the fact that I was riveted for the final 25 minutes of real time, like I will take that. But yeah, just what a mess of a game. And for me, we were joking about this before we hit record. I'm still pretty aggravated about the way this game ended. Like for Mike McDonald to watch this same strategy blow up in his face like 10 minutes beforehand, and
it was like the same distance for the field goal.
It was the same exact thing. It was the same thing where, you know, like it's a give up call to set up a 50, it was 53 for the game winner, or no, it was 52 for the game winner, 53 for the earlier one. And we get down to brass tacks, 18 seconds with a timeout. Sam Darnold's been slinging the ball all night. Like, I know the Cardinals strip sacked him, but for the most part, Seattle did not have a problem protecting Sam in this game. And Mike McDonald was just like so afraid of something going wrong. And he's like, what are the odds Myers messes this up twice in one quarter? And I guess to his credit, he was right. The Seahawks won the game, but the process pissed me off. Like I hated it, but they got the win.
My experience with this game, I loved it start to finish. I thought this game was incredible. Like,
there's something seriously wrong with you.
This game was awesome. The Seahawks defense was playing like every way that you thought they would. And it was like all the Marvin Harrison Jr. stuff at the early part of it was very frustrating. But then you kind of got the cool redemption arc where he's kind of the reason that they even have a shot later in this game. It felt like every Seahawks defender as a front was getting in on the action. You got some weird Kyler Murray stuff out of the pocket, good and bad. Like this is what Thursday night football is supposed to be. Like, this is what you sign up for. And I'm glad we got it.
Let's talk a little bit more about just the final couple drives and the end of game sequences. The only reason this is even close, first of all, is the JSN holding penalty on the would-be Charbonnet touchdown that doesn't allow the Seahawks to just walk away with this thing. That is a swing moment in the second half. And then quietly, Mike McDonald's decision on the first drive of the second half to kick it on 4th and 2 rather than going for it. That's one of those things where in real time you think, how could this possibly matter? And then, of course, in the sequence of an NFL game, we get to a place where it matters. And then the Cardinals come all the way back. You have those 2 back shoulder plays from Marvin Harrison. You have a really nice drive on the first touchdown to get DeMarcado in the flat for the touchdown. When you have the Dortch screen, I mean, just like a lot of nice moments from the Cardinals. Tie the game, I think, 2 times. One, when they scored to go down a score, they could have gone for 2. To make it a 6-point game, which is the analytically correct thing to do. They didn't do that. One of those other moments of, how much could it matter? And then it matters very much. And then after they tie the game, the new kickoff rules come into play because Ryland kicks it short of the goddamn landing zone and the Seahawks get the ball on the 40. And even then, it required a crazy back shoulder play from JSN to get them into field goal range. So there are 10,000 things that happened in the final 20 minutes of this game that we could probably talk about.
I felt like we needed a sousaphone at some point. I was like, are we going to have to dot the I in this game with JSN and Marv just trading haymakers? Like, that was really fun. And I am, just on a personal level, I'm so happy Marvin Harrison got to come out of this game feeling like he belongs in the NFL, honestly. Because I'm sure when you bobble that ball that leads to the Seattle interception, I don't know how you go back to the sideline and don't have a crisis of faith. And they kept cutting to him during the broadcast. It looked like that was happening. And then he gets his touchdown on just a sick play. Like that's the quintessential Marvin Harrison Jr. play. Like that's what he's good at. And the moment that he took for himself, I was like, buddy, I'm glad you had this. And yeah. And then the fourth quarter was just 2 Ohio State receivers just trading sick plays. That was really, really fun. I'm glad we got to see that.
I'm happy Marvin Harrison Jr. got that moment, but even that kneel in the end zone, you can just tell he's going through something right now. He's really struggling when it comes to just the mental aspect of the game, and you can clearly see that it's weighing on him. And it's not surprising, based on conversations I had with people there in the summer just about him and his mindset. They really like him. And I think that he's just somebody that's very easy to root for and has the right mindset. And so to see him get into this place where it's kind of yippish at receiver, I mean, that it feels kind of like what was happening early in the game. Not only does the tipped ball lead to the interception, Derek, but he stops his route on that first Kyler Murray interception. And so on the first 5 targets for Marvin Harrison in this game, he had 1 catch and directly and kind of indirectly led to 2 turnovers on those 5 targets.
That's the one that was more like frustrating to me, and to me more kind of speaks to like maybe some of what he's just struggling with some of the yips and just like not being fully there, whatever that might be. The drop is just like that happens sometimes. It's a very bad play, but like that just happens sometimes, even to very good receivers. The one where he's running that dig route over the middle and he just kind of stops his route, and Kyler Murray, like, it wasn't a very good ball. It didn't look like anyway. He might have overthrown him. But the point is that like he expects the receiver to continue to keep running his route. And like that is the exact type of thing with receivers that irritates me when they like run their routes wrong or they stop their route or they're in the wrong spot. And for him to do that, it's bizarre because the whole thing with him coming out of college was that he was so pristine out of breaks and he always gave his all. And like he was such a fantastic route runner. It was a very weird moment for a player like him.
Let's talk about the Cardinals offense first, because I think we're going to have some discourse coming out of this game. And I think it's already starting to bubble a little bit. And I don't want to take too much away from like what the live social media commentary is, but I think that there was enough of it where I wanted to see how we should frame the performance from the Cardinals offense today. They struggled. Like there's no way around that. They had a 34.4% success rate. It was worse before those kind of final couple drives. They averaged 4.5 yards per play. But when I watch this game, Derek, and I'm curious what your takeaway is, obviously we only have what we saw in real time. I don't look at this as some like disaster Kyler Murray performance. To me, this was a real representation of the limitations currently that the Cardinals offense has. They could not run the ball on their terms today for a vast majority of the game. They finished the game with like a 31% design rush success rate. It was worse than that for most of the game. And their early down runs were going absolutely nowhere. If you can't do that based on the formula this team has followed over the last few years against the Seahawks defense that, while tough to run on, is a light box team, it's going to be hard to get anything going, period. You combine that with the fact that even the 2 Marv catches are very indicative to me of like what this offense needs to do. There is no verticality to this offense. The Seahawks can just sit in quarters and they can hammer down on everything over the middle of the field. And with that, combined with the inability to run the ball, it's going to be really frustrating and difficult to play against the defense that has as much talent as Seattle does. So the inconsistencies and kind of the stop and start nature of what we saw from Arizona today speak more to me about the limitations of the offense rather than the limitations of the quarterback. And I don't know how fair you think that is.
I think that's pretty fair. Like Kyler has his issues, and I thought that there were a number of times in this game where he probably bailed too early, which understandable because there were a number of like free rushers and even on non-free rush plays, like Seattle was getting to him. So I get why he wanted to bail.
Another example where the Arizona offensive line in any sort of pure dropback situation is not equipped to deal with a team like this. Few teams are. It's a really good front with a lot of talent all the way across the board, even if there are no defined superstars.
And so that's the thing. If you're not going to run the ball on your own terms, you're going to get stuck in these scenarios where a team like Seattle can do all of that. And they are not. They, to me, in the passing offense, do not scheme guys open very much. And really, Marvin Harrison Jr. is your only receiver who consistently gets open. Like Michael Wilson can win the ball every now and then, but he is not we are going to throw the ball 40 times type of receiver that you want. Like you want to be able to use him more as a blocker and more over the middle and stuff like that. And so I think to me, this is like a talent only passing offense. And if Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be as volatile as he is, that is not a good way to live. Like the Murray to Trey McBride connection is awesome. Everything other than that is a little bit volatile to me.
There was a moment on one of those late drives. I think it was the last touchdown drive they had. Kyler looked for Trey McBride on like the curl over the middle that he'd been hitting him on all night. And Devin Witherspoon was like all over it. And I was just like, ooh, yeah. Like even the one thing you've been able to go to on a regular basis, like it took Seattle 2 hours to sniff it out and be all over it like at a crucial point in the game. And yeah, it just it's something you say a lot, Robert, but like everything feels hard for the Cardinals. And that is a really good defense. And I think that's worth pointing out. But yeah, I don't know what the layups are for the Cardinals offense right now, particularly if you can't count on Marvin Harrison to just go big boy people and get contested catches, which hopefully he can do at some point, but it's not something they've been able to rely on in the first month of the season.
It's so hard to live that way. Like, it's just so incredibly hard to live that way. And even Trey McBride, again, is somebody that does a really good job in the short and intermediate parts of the field. He's one of the best receiving tight ends in football. But if you can't create space as an offense, then everything just feels so condensed. And that's exactly where they are right now. And again, against a team like Seattle, the Seahawks are an anomaly. Okay. They play with a top 5 light box rate, but they're one of the best 5 rush defenses in the NFL. That is a pure, our defense is better than yours sort of formula. Not every team is going to be able to do that, but if you're going to have that umbrella over the top of things and not be able to run the ball, and you can't lift the top off of the defense because you don't have any team speed, it's just going to be a slog. And I think this is the exact wrong matchup for them as the Cardinals are currently constructed. There's no one to create space for Trey McBride, and so there's no space to be had for the guys in this offense that need it to function.
And I think it's like, to me, even if they did have someone who could stretch the field, they can't block it up anyway. Like, I truly don't think that they could, even if they wanted to do more under center stuff, I just don't think they're in good enough down and distances for a lot of that. And then if they wanted to be more of a pure drop back vertical game, again, the 5 and 6 man protections with this unit just don't look very good right now.
Paris Johnson's their best offensive lineman, and he's clearly a little bit banged up. He came into this game hurt. He didn't look 100%. And then across the board, I mean, every single matchup, if you put a Seahawks defensive lineman, Derek Hall, Boye Mafe, Leonard Williams, Jerron Reed, Byron Murphy, Uchenna Nwosu in this game, every single one of them is a talent advantage for the Seahawks. Every single one across the board. And it combined with all of the other environmental stuff we're talking about is just a tough way to live.
It really is an impressive amount of depth for Seattle. And maybe they don't have that, the Parsons type of like blue chip rusher, but you're not supposed to go like we always say that in the NFL is like, well, you don't typically have good depth at most positions, let alone at pass rusher. And the Seahawks just feel like they have like 8 guys. Even if it's really more like 5, it feels like 8 when you watch them. And like they lost DeMarcus Lawrence in this game and didn't miss
that.
It might be 8
miss a beat. Yeah, it might be 8. It might be 8. Like they didn't miss a beat when they lost like one of their more expensive guys. It's very impressive.
On the other side of it, I like watching the Seahawks offense. Tonight was a little bit
wrong
frustrating.
about them. They're good.
Yeah, I listen, there are a couple things that remain frustrating about them, and it seems silly to start with those, but I think those are just kind of at front of mind as I think about what's holding them back a little bit. I think you do have some leakiness in pass protection, especially on some of those play action, longer developing concepts. That comes up every so often, and this is a team that has struggled to find itself on the ground. I really thought that if they were going to be able to find some consistency and some teeth on offense, it was going to be starting with the ground game and then coming off of play action. Their rushing offense has not been very good so far this year. It's been very inconsistent. You're going to have some explosives every once in a while, but down to down, I think they had around a 30% rushing success rate in this game. But some of the things that we've seen from Darnold specifically, I find really encouraging, Derek, and we can get into some of the specifics there. And then also, other than the situational, let's run the ball to set up field goals approach in some high leverage moments, I actually really like some of the situational play calling and sequencing that we saw from Clint Kubiak over the course of this game. So, and you combine that with what JSN is right now, which is really ascending and one of the better receivers in the league. And there's just a lot of momentum building, I think, for what this Seattle offense can be over the course of the year.
This, to me, was the first time watching this version of the Seattle team where I felt good about some of what they were doing schematically, and they were getting away with some stuff because the talent is just good. Like, again, Darnold was making a number of really impressive throws. Kenneth Walker, like, his ability to bounce some of those runs was absolutely huge in this game. It was absolutely pivotal. Obviously, JSN does what he does. Elijah Arroyo it's obviously it's against Josh Sweat in coverage, but it's still like a 260-pound huge guy in front of you. You got to go make the play. So this, to me, I just thought it was like finally a very good marriage of them blending some of the scheme stuff with a lot of the talent that they've added, especially a lot of the newer pieces. To me, like, just talking about like some of the stuff that they schemed up, the touchdown they throw to AJ Barner where they've got Cooper Kupp kind of in that cut split, and they have him just like run that little short over route to like rub the flat player a little bit, and Barner just gets an easy release up there. Like just little stuff like that. I still think there are some issues with Sam Darnold of like, if you speed him up or if you crowd him in the pocket, every now and then he'll make a mistake. But like if the ball's there, if the throw's there, he's pretty accurate right now. Like he's throwing darts, man. And they've done a decent job of giving him some stuff.
I thought the second touchdown drive that Seattle had, the 90-yarder with the Arroyo play against Josh Sweat, I thought that was like everything the Seahawks probably want to be on offense. Like, I just thought it was such an impressive sequence where like Barner recognized that Arroyo was on a defensive end in coverage. He makes a great play there. Darnold uses his feet, which are better than he gets credit for, and picks up 24 yards. Great throw to Arroyo to draw a DPI there on Budda Baker that moved them further down the field. And then they had like a fantastic toss sweep where like Abe Lucas gets out into space, and I like Cooper Kupp takes the linebacker out of the play, and then Charbonnet just bullies people on the goal line. So like you get a really nice mix of what Darnold can bring to your offense in addition to the physicality that the Seahawks have always loved under John Schneider. And I was like, yeah, that's who they want to be in their like ideal circumstances.
And so really quickly, like that's the thing I wanted to say about the run game. The outside run game was actually not bad in this game. Their inside run game was terrible. And I think part of that is a little bit of a personnel thing, right? Like that's just, they're still not strong there. But also Arizona was just playing a lot of base defense because Seattle had obviously in the fourth quarter, they had to throw the ball a little bit more, so their personnel stuff got thrown awry. But in the first three quarters, they ran 46 offensive plays. 29 of them were in 12 or 13 personnel.
Yeah,
it was a lot.
We're getting there.
Right.
Yeah, the Cardinals were in base, and so that led to a lot of heavier fronts, and so they couldn't run inside. But when they were getting the outside stuff and that stuff, it was kind of working.
It's because AJ Barner's a monster on the perimeter. I was looking. We got to a point in the third quarter where I was looking up for records for lack of 3 wide receiver snaps over the course of an entire NFL game. There have been 2 over the last 5 years with 0, so it's going to be hard to break that one. One of them is the Atlanta Falcons in 2023, which I should not be a surprise to absolutely anybody, but there have been a couple with 0 if you just want to keep an eye on that. Dave, it's funny that you mentioned that bad touchdown drive because the one that really jumped out to me was actually the one that ended with the AJ Barner touchdown. And it was a few different things that I think got shown off on that drive. I think that was all the best stuff that you can get from Sam Darnold. They have a little slide play action to start the drive, and he had this is a small thing, but just really nice touch over an unblocked defender to Arroyo in the flat. Just like that's like a level of arm talent that I think goes unnoticed sometimes, the ability to shape your throws in moments like that when there's somebody unblocked coming at you. So he hits that. And then on 2nd and 2, and Derek, this is one of those moments where I notice it. And I think that this is where we might see some maturation with Sam Darnold that gets me excited. They had a play action concept on a 2nd and 2 that wasn't there, and he just dirts it. He's like, you know what? It's 2nd and 2. Situationally, I understand this. I'm going to put the ball on the ground. We're fine. 3rd and 2, Kupp sits in the hook with JSN flying in the flat, hits it immediately, and then we get the post wheel to Barner for the touchdown. And while I watched that entire sequence in combination, I'm like, okay. Like that to me is somebody that is learning, is maturing, is getting to a place where I think he understands to play within himself a little bit more. And when you combine that with the undeniable flashes of talent that we see from Sam Darnold and have seen from Sam Darnold, that's when things start to become a little bit interesting to me.
I mean, the arm has always been there, but he really is playing quarterback now. The 2nd and 2 where he dirts it there is good. The throwing up and over an unblocked defender, by the way, way harder than it looks. That, and to me, like the speed out from the opposite hash, those are 2 like small arm talent things that are like way harder than they look. Because they're short little throws, but they're very difficult to do. And Sam Darnold obviously has the talent to do it. He also, I think on the last drive, had a very similar play where like the play is dead and he has to get outside of the pocket. And instead of trying to be the hero, he just like throws it away. And it's just like, I don't know if 3 years ago Sam Darnold does that. He might have done something a little bit silly. And so I do think him having that maturation, and with as good as the scheme looks right now, and it's not the most talented offense, but if JSN is going to play the way that he's playing, if Ken Walker is going to give you 2-3 explosives a game, and AJ Barner is going to be like a plus quality tight end, that's enough to put together like a pretty solid offense here.
I'll throw two other things in there. I think Arroyo developing into like an actual receiving weapon to kind of offset what type of player Barner is in there. And we talk about having some verticality within the offense. If you can add some credence to your ability to take one or two shots down the field over the course of the game because Torrey Horton exists, you turn him into a useful piece in the offense. And so I think all of that stuff in combination with play calling stuff I'm excited about, which I want to talk about in a second, plus a quarterback that I think is doing a really good job of understanding what his role is within all of this, I can get excited about it. I'm willing to eat some crow about the plan that the Seahawks had on offense this year and the validity to it, whether it was actually a good approach. Because so far, I think that there is a lot of examples and a lot of evidence here, Dave, that you can feel good about what they're doing right now.
You don't have to eat that much crow. You picked him in the wins pool. Like,
I was excited about this team. I just think that I was wondering how this was going to go. They made a big bet on a new coordinator and a new quarterback. And I just thought that you had 1 year from Sam Darnold. I think that Geno, in better circumstances, can still be a really good player. I thought they might have done one thing too many when it came to all the moving parts, but I wondered what Sam would look like outside of Minnesota. And so far, I think that he has shown that some of that progress that we saw last year with the Vikings was not merely a product of the situation that he was in with the Vikings.
He looks really good. I think like when people say like slinging Sammy Darnold, I feel like it typically comes with an air of sarcasm.
Mm-hmm.
And like during that game, I was like, I think I'm going to remove the sarcastic tone when I say that. I'm just like slinging Sammy Darnold. He's throwing the ball all over the yard and it looks really good.
There's one play in one sequence, two plays I want to talk about just to, I think, really kind of try to highlight what play calling is in the NFL, because I think too often we mix up like the strength and quality of offensive architecture with what play calling looks like and how those two things are differentiated from one another. The first drive of the game where the Seahawks get on the ball on the second play of the game and go tempo and run that 4x1 where they throw the ball out to Kenneth Walker and they know that going in, like that's just a situational thing where it's like, okay, you just stole a play. Like over the course of the game, if you steal 3 or 4 of them, that stuff starts to add up. And then there was one really small one on the first drive of the second half where Sam, the one bad play I think he made in this game where I'm like, I don't like that, is when he takes an extra hitch and gets strip sacked by Josh Sweat. That ball needs to come out. But after that, it's 2nd and 11. And on 2nd and 11, they have a play dialed up with like a little swing in the flat to JSN. That's just a great get back on track play. If you have a negative play on first down, what does your bag of get back on track plays on second down look like? That's a great example. And then on third down, they had that little design boot with Charbonnet offset to the left side, and it's all coming to Darnold's left. And then they have Barner chip, release. He's an outlet back over the middle of the field. It's 3rd and 1. Sam finds him first down. Those are just like two little things where you watch that happen. It's like that is a quarterback and a play caller that, despite some of the frustrating elements of this still, Derek, I think have a really good feel for what they're trying to accomplish right now.
That's like when we talk about certain offenses and certain quarterbacks only needing to make 5 throws a game. It's because on all of the other plays, an offensive designer is able to do stuff like that. And I feel like in too many of those scenarios where quarterback almost gets strip sacked and now we're in 2nd and 11, you just see a lot of like give up runs. That is often what you get. The fact that they have at least a little bit something more to dig into there, I think is exciting. And also the JSN being a guy who you can flip the ball out to, I think is a very fascinating development. And this was true of his rookie year, but I think coming out of college, nobody thought that he was that guy. And the fact that he's so good at it now for them, I think it's like a pretty interesting thing.
He's good at everything now.
Well, yeah, he's great at everything.
There's like nothing that he doesn't do now, which is just crazy considering how we kind of pegged him coming into the league and even what he was for the first half of last year. The idea that he can run FU double moves on 3rd and 6 to potentially put the game away on the perimeter. We're throwing back shoulder balls to the guy on the perimeter. We're getting him the ball in space. He does a great job on like some of those inbreakers within this offense just because of the way he moves in the short area. Like there are very few things, despite his frame and despite the fact that some people might peg him as not having long speed, that he cannot do on an NFL field right now. And it's really, really cool to watch.
Yeah, he's insane.
All right. That is all we've got for today. If you guys are watching this on on Friday morning, please go check out our week 4 preview, whether on YouTube or on the podcast feed. Really enjoyed that show. Have a couple of good games of the week. Hit, I think, overall like 12 games from the slate in some way or another. So highly encourage you guys to go check that out. you're watching this on YouTube, this only exists on YouTube. I usually say that about the podcast. Please like and subscribe to the channel. We're doing a lot more stuff on YouTube this year. Obviously, the recap and preview shows are coming to you guys from our studio in Chicago, which we're trying to make look a little bit more buttoned up here as we go. We got some YouTube standalone content coming your guys' way. Derek had his first skiing video of the week last week about the Lions. Really excited to do more of that stuff. So now is the time to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not. And please just let us know what you want to see more of, what you're enjoying. The comments below are yours. For now, that's all we got. Sincerely appreciate you guys listening. We'll talk to you soon.